Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda. I'm a film major at the University of Central Florida, and I'm here to talk about some of the movies that I saw this year and whether or not I think they deserve to be Oscar nominated films. I'm gonna be honest, I really did not watch that many movies that came out in the year 2023. Out of the 82 films I saw, only 42% of them were movies made this year. And with that being said, I'd say most of those 35 movies were not Oscar worthy. I honestly saw a lot of really bad movies last year. I think it's safe to say that 10 of them would, could, or should be considered for the Oscar nominations. You guys should also make sure to follow me on Letterboxd so you can keep up with me on all of the movies that I watch in this upcoming year, and as well as follow me on Instagram and subscribe. Barbie is a movie I don't think anybody is going to be surprised to hear is definitely going to be nominated for the Oscars. It was one of the movies of the year. I have a feeling Barbie's going to get a lot of nominations this year, which, you know, wow, what a surprising opinion. But Barbie did so much in terms of bringing people back to the theater. After a global pandemic and streaming services, Barbie made a lot of people really excited to just go watch a movie. From the beginning of the movie, audiences are completely immersed into Barbie land and the world that Greta Gerwig and her set design team created. I don't think it's gonna come as a surprise that Greta Gerwig is gonna be nominated for Best Director. I also think they're probably gonna get a nomination for Best Production Design, as well as Best Actor nominations for Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, and America Ferrera. Original song for What Was I Made For. Probably a nomination for Best Picture and Original Screenplay as well. Those are my predictions, at least, for the movie Barbie. I don't think any of these nominations come as a surprise. I'm probably missing some nominations that a lot of people think getting a nomination for or deserves. But those are just some of the ones off the top of my head. He is obviously going to be going in the definitely nominated tier. Another movie that absolutely changed the way that people go to the movie theater was Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer and Barbie being released on the same day caused the internet to essentially go create Barbenheimer as like a viral event. Thousands of people bought tickets to watch Oppenheimer and Barbie on the same day. I don't think anybody looking into the future could have seen that coming. Christopher Nolan is definitely getting nominated for Best Director. I don't think that is in question whatsoever. I also wouldn't be surprised if Oppenheimer ends up taking the crown for Best Picture. But Christopher Nolan is always delivering as a director. He's always coming up with such creative concepts and ways to tell a story. And this movie was really no different. Here are some of the categories I think Oppenheimer is probably going to be nominated for. Best Actor for Cillian Murphy. Best Picture, Best Visual Effects, Best Editing, Best Supporting Character for Robert Downey Jr., and Best Adapted Screenplay. Oppenheimer is definitely going to be going in the definitely nominated tier. Next up is Asteroid City. I love Wes Anderson. I am honestly pretty biased towards him and his films. He's one of my favorite directors, so bear that in mind when you hear what I'm about to say. I talked about this movie a little while back in my anticipated watches of 2023 before a trailer for Asteroid City had even come out. So you can definitely say I was pretty excited for this movie to come out. Wes Anderson as a director just has such a creative, unique, and consistent style. I genuinely consider him one of the best directors in the industry right now. I do think he will get some nominations. I don't know how much love Asteroid City is going to be getting this Oscar season, just because Asteroid City is going against movies like Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, so it's honestly a really tough race. Some of the nominations I think it'll be getting is Best Cinematography, Best Original Screenplay, Best Editing, and maybe, just a maybe, on Best Director, just because maybe Oscars has a little love for Wes Anderson like I do. I feel like Asteroid City is gonna be in the should. Nah, I think it'll be nominated. Definitely be nominated. Next up is Across the Spiderverse. Out of the animated movies that I've seen for 2023, I definitely do think Across the Spiderverse is the best out of all of them. I definitely think Across the Spiderverse is going to get a nomination for the Best Animated Feature category. Into the Spider-Verse was genuinely a masterpiece, and for them to have been able to one-up themselves, I really do have to give credit where credit is due. Like, they really are trendsetters and visionaries, and so I am gonna put it in the definitely nominated section, even though it's just one nomination. Bottoms is a movie that got a lot of love this year on social media platforms just because it was kind of targeted and marketed towards Gen Z audiences, and it really did sell to Gen Z audiences. It was compared to Gen Z's Superbad, and arguably I do think it was one of the funniest films that came out this year for Gen Z. Bottoms really felt like fresh air. Comedy is one of my favorite genres to begin with, and so I feel like that genre really needed some new content, some new material, and as soon as this movie came out, I was in theaters watching it and loving it. I'm not so sure that the Oscars is gonna be giving Bottoms any nomination. That's why I'm gonna put it in the could be considered. I don't really know how to differentiate it between the should be considered, because I could be like, oh, it should be considered because it's so good, or it could be considered because it's so good, but I'm gonna go with could. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, and I'm sorry about that. I really wish the Oscars would recognize what it is that we as the audience are really gravitating towards. Another movie that really caught wind and kind of became successful because of social media is Saltburn. I was not able to speak for 20 minutes after I finished the movie Saltburn, just to really collect myself, because I still to this day wouldn't be able to communicate what it is that I saw in that movie. But I haven't seen anybody rate the movie anything other than 4 stars, myself included. I'm gonna put it in the could be considered just because I'm not really entirely sure how raunchy, edgy, or just like raw the Oscars really wants to go this year, because pretty much any nominations or wins for Saltburn are honestly kind of unexpected in my opinion. I'm not entirely sure that the movie came out within the right amount of time to be considered for Oscars nominations. I do have a couple of things I think it should be nominated for: Best Editing, Best Cinematography, Best Actor for the main character, Best Original Story, and Best Sound Editing. Another movie I saw this year was Priscilla by Sofia Coppola and A24. I wasn't really entirely sure where to place this movie in my tier ranking. This movie in general left me pretty dissatisfied after I had seen it in theaters for a lot of different reasons. All I can really tell you is that the movie is pretty, and that's really about it. So the only 2 categories I would really accept a nomination for are maybe Best Cinematography and Best Editing. But the thing is, for Best Cinematography and Best Editing, those 2 things are supposed to be done with purpose in order to be the best. They can't just be pretty or good. And so I really don't think Priscilla is going to really rack up any nominations. I was expecting a lot from Sofia Coppola just because of her reputation, to be honest, because I don't think I've ever seen anything of hers up until this moment, and I was pretty disappointed. It's in the could be considered just because I know the Oscars really likes beautiful cinematography and stuff like that, but I do know they kind of like a little bit more depth as well too, so I don't think it's really gonna rack up any nominations. We'll just have to see when we get there. Strays is a movie about talking dogs, and the way that I saw this movie twice in theaters, like, I loved this movie so much I was willing to pay twice. I'm obviously not expecting it to win any nominations for the Oscars. The movie is just not gonna reach that esteem, like, unfortunately, but I do want to include it in this video just because it is a movie I want other people to watch and enjoy as well. It was one of the funniest movies that I saw this year, if not the funniest. Since being a film major, I kind of go into movies nowadays just seeing it from the aspect of like a filmmaker. How did they make this? Why did they choose this? It's kind of pretty difficult for me to go into a movie and just fully be immersed and enjoy it and be surprised by the things that are happening in the movie, because usually I could just kind of call them out or pinpoint them or kind of see which direction they're heading to. But this movie completely surprised me, and it was so funny and so enjoyable that I had to include it in this list, and I hope you guys check it out. If you do, please comment down below, let me know your thoughts, or like I said, follow me on Letterboxd, let me know your guys' opinions. Another movie which I have heard buzz that it might be considered for an Oscar nomination is Godzilla -1. This movie was so good in so many different ways. I'm not gonna lie, I really was not a fan of the ending, and if you've seen the movie, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm really not gonna hold it against the movie in general. I'm gonna continue saying the movie is really good. I don't think I've ever seen a Godzilla movie or like a King Kong movie from start to finish, and watching this one was honestly such a pleasant experience. They really grounded the experience of Godzilla and just being a human, and it was honestly kind of terrifying. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and lie, I was like, how are these humans gonna beat Godzilla? I do think it should get a nomination for Best Editing and maybe Best Sound Design as well. The movie treated the franchise with a lot more respect than the previous movies have, in my opinion. Instead of just throwing like Millie Bobby Brown into the screen and telling me it's a Godzilla movie, it really went through a different lens and a different perspective, and I think that's why it was such a powerful film to begin with, and why it's being taken a lot more seriously than if it were just like a regular Godzilla movie, in my opinion. So these are some of the films that I personally saw and what I think they'd be nominated for, and the nominations I think they deserve or are likely to get. Some special mentions just out of things I've heard. Some movies that have been getting a lot of critical acclaim recently are The Boy and the Heron, Poor Things, and Killers of the Flower Moon. I've just been hearing a lot of chatter about those movies and how they're likely to be nominated or winners of the Oscars, so I thought I'd let you guys know of some of the other movies that I just heard of as well. I'm hoping to make it past 100 this year. And with all that being said, remember to follow me on Letterboxd, Instagram. All of that is going to be linked down below. And I hope you guys are having a good day. Bye.